Okay, hi, and welcome to this video on finding sides with trig ratios. Okay, well, what is the point of knowing the trig ratios? Well, the trig ratios we can actually use in order to help us find missing sides. So let's say that I have a triangle, and in this case, we have right triangle, JKL, and then they tell us that we have one angle that's 53 degrees, and then the hypotenuse is 13. Well, we need to find sides x and y. Well, yes, we could use the Pythagorean theorem and do x squared, blah, 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 but then we're still missing one. We would need another value. So when we have two missing sides, we can use the sine, cosine, and tangent ratios in order to find the missing side. Okay, well, let's say I know that angle L is 53 degrees. So I'm standing on angle L, and so I'm going to look for the side that's opposite angle L in order to set up the ratio. So let's set up our ratio. So I'm going to say, if I want to find x, then I'm going to say the sine of angle L, but since we know the measure of angle L, it's 53 degrees, so I don't need to put the sine of L, I can put the sine of 53. And we know that that's equal to the opposite side, which is the side that's directly across from it, x, which we don't know in this case, over the hypotenuse, which is 13. Okay, well, now I have two of the values, so I'm only missing one value. So how do I find x? Well, I'm going to have to multiply both sides of this equation by 13 to get 13 out of the denominator. Well, these two 13s will cancel out, and so I'm left with x is equal to 13 times the sine of 53 degrees. Okay, and you want to make sure that your calculator is set to degrees as well. So I'm not going to use the computer calculator, but I'm going to put this into my calculator. If you have a TI 89 or 83, then you have some buttons that look like sine, cosine, tangent. And so the way you can type it in on the 83, 84, 83 is you're going to type in the number 13. So go to your home screen, type in 13. And on the 89, I'm going to use second. So it's the second key, sine. On the 83, it may be different. You may just be able to hit the sine button. So 13 times the sine, and when it opens up the parentheses, you're going to put in 53. But you need to make sure that the mode of your calculator is set to 53 degrees. If you don't know how to do that, then you can look online. You can go to TI to find out how to do that, or look in your instruction manual, or you can find out when you come to the next class. Okay, so 13 times the sine of 53 degrees, you type it into the calculator just like that. And so that's going to be equal to, x is equal to 10.38. Okay, and you can round to the nearest hundredths place. Okay, so in this case, we had x was equal to all of this, and so x, the side x, is 10.38 degrees. Now I want to find side y. Okay, well, I don't need to even use side x to find side y. I can use the law of cosines. Or not the law of cosines, I'm sorry, the cosine trig ratio. So I'm going to say that the cosine of 53 degrees, so instead of saying L, the cosine of L, I'm just going to put in 53 degrees. The cosine of 53 degrees, okay, is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So it's y over the hypotenuse, which is 13. And so again, to solve for y, I'm going to have to multiply both sides by 13. So this time, I'm going to put in 13 and then the cosine key times 53 degrees. And you don't have to type in the degrees, just type in 53. Make sure your mode is set to degrees, though. Otherwise, it'll give you radians and you'll get the wrong measurements. Okay, so then I'm going to say, well, all of this is equal to y. So now let's plug all of this into the calculator, or type all of this into the calculator and find out what the value is. So I have 13 times, and in my case, it's second cosine. So 13 times second cosine, and it's 53. And then enter, and so that gave me that side y is 7.82. Okay, 7.82 is the length of side y. Okay, so I have side y is 7.82 and side x is 10.38. Okay, so those are the sides. Now, what if I wanted you to find angle K? Well, we could use our trig ratios to find angle K, but we have to know some inverse properties first. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to watch the video on inverses and then come back and do this problem. So later on, you can write this probably in your notebook because this one is not contained in your notes. I want you to find the measure of angle K using tangent inverse, okay? And we'll talk about those in the next video. All right, thank you for tuning in. Tune into the next video on the inverse of sine, cosine, and tangent ratios. Okay, thank you.